Hi, I am not doing a normal clip today. In fact, we probably missed our upload, which is my fault, not Adish's, because I told him that I wanted to record something about the LA protests. And then I couldn't really find the words. So I had a whole presentation and I decided I just really kind of want to do it in one take from the heart and just to say what I'm feeling. I went to the LA protests in person yesterday and talked to people and gave out water and even gave out some flags because I'm an optics guy and I thought it'd be nice if we had some Mexican flags to show that, it's very American to protest. You should be allowed to do it. And I saw a lot of stuff online that's like really deeply misinformation. And so I want to talk. I just want to talk about it. Well, actually, there's two things I want to talk about. One is I think we all know why Trump is doing this. The news cycle 1 week ago was everyone's infighting over the big, beautiful bill. Republicans are in disarray. Elon Musk is calling Trump a pedophile and saying we're going to have a recession by the end of the year. Economic data was coming out that was really bad. I mean, jobs are not hiring. Like most big companies are just completely frozen on hiring. And house sales are plummeting. Like people are just, there's way, way, way more sellers than buyers now, which means we're due for like tumultuous times, at least for the late summer. And that was what all the news cycle was covering. And Donald Trump, he's watching cable news in the White House every night. And this news cycle was bad. And I think he needed to shift the news cycle. There's another fact you might not know is that of all of the issues that Trump is polled on, there's only one where he's not underwater. And that's immigration. 54% support on immigration. Everything else is under 50%. He's plummeting on the economy, on foreign policy, on trade, on inflation. Okay, but on immigration, if he can focus a story on that, he's still popular. And that's because 98% of Republicans back him on this. He's got it's lockstep. The one unifying thing of all the different factions of the Republican Party is that they want to kick out immigrants, ideally in the most public and like demeaning way possible. And so that's what he needed the story to be. And obviously, listen, I know California is like statistically the most unpopular state. Los Angeles is probably the most unpopular city in California. And Karen Bass, the mayor, is terrible, right? So if you can make that your enemy and get a big news cycle out of that, it's gonna rile everyone up and get people back on your side. And that's what's going on here. Okay, I think we all know that. This is all to get people to stop talking about Epstein and the big bill and the shitty economy and trade. It's to focus back on the one core issue. However, I want to talk about that issue. My wife is Latina. I don't know if you guys know this, and her parents are Mexican. And they're staying with us right now, and I'm talking to them. And I've met her family, and many of them are on that borderline. Some are American citizens, some are trying to get their green card, some are, in the process. Just knowing this many good people who have to live in like a consistent, elevated state of fear. And that's not just them. I shouldn't make it all about my family. I was talking to people yesterday at the protest. It's just a heightened state of fear. And I know if you look at the most incendiary photos and videos of this protest and you see some guy on the hood of a burning Waymo with a Mexican flag, you think, oh, that guy's a f***ing problem. You know what? He is. Lock that guy up. I don't care. But understand that 99% of the people, more than that, 99.9% of the people at that protest are just trying to express a very human desire to stop getting fucked with by ICE, dude. It's crazy. Especially, it's like if you bring up race, it becomes this whole thing, but especially if you're brown. Dude, 4.8 million people in Los Angeles County are Latino, and they're afraid. Dude, you talk to them, they're afraid. They're walking around carrying birth certificates and papers and passports because they're afraid because there's like plainclothes, no-knock raids happening. ICE has always been like a problematic organization, but even the head of ICE under Obama is saying, what the fuck is going on with this version of ICE? Okay, Stephen Miller has gone insane, dude. And there's direct quotes where they're saying things like, I'm sorry, let me make sure I get the exact quote right, but it's things like, do what you need to do to make more arrests. Just go out there and arrest illegal aliens. Gang members and violent criminals are not the sole target. These are like direct quotes. And I hope that the people that voted on the subject of immigration, at least some of them, bought into the hype that it was all about gang members and violent criminals. Because at the end of the day, nobody is really opposed to a gang member or a violent criminal getting locked up. But that's not what's happening. I can go through story after story, but here's a recent one, dude. A pregnant woman, American citizen, but she's Latina, was detained by ICE. And they accused her of being a Mexican and trying to have her baby in America, and it wasn't true. And that plus two plainclothes ICE officers showed up at a school trying to investigate a second grader. They said they had the parents' permission. They didn't. And then when asked to show their badge, they had the badge out. When they asked to write down the information, they hid the badge and went away. It's just like story after story of not following any sort of protocol, of wearing a mask, of just creating this culture of fear, primarily among more vulnerable people. I think it doesn't take too much empathy to imagine yourself in the shoes of someone like that and understand how it makes you afraid and want to speak out and want to push back and want to do something. Now, again, I feel like you have to say this. I don't think people should loot. I don't think people should burn cars, but understand, just really understand how small a percent that is. And you can't ignore or write off the real demands of a lot more people because somebody in that group is going to be stupid. It's like trying to make a YouTube video, but you can only make it if there's no stupid comments. It's like, what am I supposed to do? I'm going to make a video that's going to get 100,000 views. There's going to be some stupid comments on this thing. What can I do about it? If you get a big enough group, someone's going to poison it. But you don't get to write off the entire message. And the message is that what is happening around immigration here is not working. It's not working on any level, actually, because the number of deportations is down from Biden. It's not effective. It's just about being this public display of power, really, of demeaning this. It's fewer deportations, but more cruel ones. Yeah, I don't have a nicer or better way to say it. It just sucks, dude. It just sucks. And if you talk to people that are affected by this or out there protesting, dude, it's people that are just broke or hardworking, or like, it's not like the people that are in power or benefiting from society. I don't understand. There's a great quote. It was from Lena Khan's like deputy. And he said, God, let me get my quote again. I'm sorry. It's late, bro. He said, be skeptical of any analysis in which the least powerful people are the most responsible for your problems. I don't know how to tell you this, but the dude sprinkling tahini on mango on the corner is not your problem. The dishwasher is not your problem. We do have big problems in America, and they're not caused by broke people working hotel service. And they're the ones being harassed and punished. And if any group of them tries to speak up or be like, this is wrong, then it becomes a quote riot. Okay, no matter what they do, it becomes a quote riot, because these are not the people that are burning Waymos. Okay, I'm gonna cut myself off there because it was late last night and I tended to ramble. Okay, it's the next day. I think I got my point across. That's enough there. And I left out some important things that I did want to say that I'm gonna say today. So just to wrap this video up, I want to talk about misinformation specifically, which I think is important, because this is one of these first big major news events that I'm living through, that I am there I'm right next to what's going on and I'm seeing it, and I'm getting texts from people asking if I'm okay and all this. And it's so obvious to me now that I see it live, how much is being overblown or misplayed or tweaked or whatever. I'm gonna give you some examples. There's a big Shohei Ohtani mural in Lowell, Tokyo. And I was there because the protests are like right there and there's a line of cops, and I'm there at the Ohtani mural. And someone there is talking about how Ohtani said, quote, there's a right way and a wrong way to get into this country. They broke the law. They have to go. And so I looked this up, and there's this viral tweet that's going around at the time that has 98,000 likes quoting Ohtani saying they've got to go. And I'm like, damn, really, Ohtani? That's kind of wild. And so I looked more into it, and the tweet is from Talking Basabel _ a fake account. The quote is entirely made up. But by the time that gets figured out and, corrected in the comments, they get like 1,000 likes, and this got 98,000 and went viral. And I was hearing it in person. Then you got Ted Cruz, who is posting, this is not peaceful, talking about the protests. Again, I'm there. It's 99.9% peaceful. It's just people waving signs and honking and whatever. Ted Cruz is posting a video from 2020, implying that video is from today. It's a lie, but again, that gets 1 million likes, and then by the time people correct it, and then, my God, dude, sorry, I could go forever on this, so let me wrap it up today. I need to get this video out. Gavin Newsom, my personal friend now that I've interviewed him, we talk. I disagree on some things, but we chop it up in the DMs. He made a tweet where he said, you sent your troops here without fuel, food, water, or a place to sleep. And it shows a bunch of National Guard just sleeping on the floor of a federal building because they don't have any place to be. It kind of implying that this whole thing is rushed and mismanaged and wasn't coordinated, and they're not even doing anything because they aren't necessary for this 2-block wide protest that is not. Anyway, I'm getting started. And he posted a picture of them seated on the floor. And then all the responses are like, at Grok, is this true? And then Grok goes, well, actually, Grok has a different answer for like every person, but it keeps repeating things like the photos originated from Afghanistan in 2021 because they're seeing troops that in like desert camo on the floor. And Grok is just machine learning guessing. But actually, the photos are of the National Guard from July 9th, from June 9th, from like 2 days ago. Okay? It's a real thing. They took it from a newspaper article. That's frustrating. It's frustrating that almost every piece of misinformation I see about what's going on in LA is followed by someone saying, at Grok, is this true? And then Grok just making something up. Just making up a random day or, it's just not, it's not helpful in any way. This whole culture of Grok, is this true? is like hitting headfirst into reality of a real-time breaking news event and coming up like, oh, this is pretty fucking useless. If you don't live here, maybe you can't tell the difference. You don't know, Grok tells you something, you go off with it. But it's a problem. Again, I fell for this. Dude, I fell for it. I'm on social media and I see a thing of the Kobe mural. I used to live right next to it, like literally I could see it from my window. And there's a Kobe Bryant and his daughter mural in LA. It's all tagged. It got all graffitied. And I was like, that sucks, man. Why would you know what I'm saying? Like, doesn't help the protest. Why are we tagging the Kobe mural? Everyone loves that. It's like a symbol of LA. And then I actually looked into it because I was falling victim to misinformation. And I found out there's a news report showing it got tagged 2 days before any of this began. It was on the 4th. The ICE raids and the protests didn't start till the 6th. So but it all gets lumped in on social media and gets 100,000 likes and the replies are like, wow, these animals are even tagging Kobe. It's just one dude on the 4th and now it becomes part of this protest story. I'm getting off topic. The point is, this is not a big news story, but it is just hitting me in reality. Social media is just filled with horseshit. That will just tell you whatever you want to believe. And that's always frustrating, but it's extra frustrating when you're seeing it live and then you're looking online and people are just telling you things that are not true. Or people that have good intentions are texting me like, oh my God, it's so dangerous. Just to be clear, this whole thing is like within, 3 or 4 blocks of a massive city. If you're 4 blocks away, people are at a cafe. They don't even notice. It's just real. Anyway, okay. Enough said. Look, I got 10 million more things I could say, and I probably am going to follow up more because these protests are not starting to spread nationwide. And I think there's some in Seattle and Denver and Boston and New York. They're all over, all right? And then on Saturday, we've got like this No Kings protest in response to Trump is now doing a birthday/military parade. There's going to be protests about that. And I'm sure one of them will escalate because there's a lot of people who are angry and something's going to happen. And then who knows? But the last thing I'll say is this. I can tell you my hand to God from being there in person to call this an insurrection, as in people who are trying to violently revolt and take over the government, is insane. And he keeps saying it over and over again because that would give him the basis to invoke the 1807 Insurrection Act. And the Insurrection Act, which hasn't been used for 200 plus years, okay? Again, the last time this law when it was written, was before the invention of the steamboat. And he is trying to claim that this small little, 3 burning Waymos in LA is cause for him to get emergency extra powers over the military and over the ability to police our cities. And that's crazy. Already sending National Guard without governor approval hasn't been done for 60 years. And that was to help protect civil rights marchers going to Selma. Okay? Now we're using it unnecessarily to inflame a protest in LA. I'm not happy with how this has been handled. But I'm hopeful that if people can hear and listen to what's actually going on, we can come to a consensus agreement. I actually think that the common sense approach that most people have is deport violent criminals, follow due process, secure the border, but immigration reform so that people that are safe and beneficial and want to work here don't have to wait 15 years to get a green card. They can find a way to adapt and get into society. I think these things are what most people want. I hope. Thanks for listening. Okay? I can't ramble forever. Appreciate you. Don't trust everything you read on Twitter. I took this photo, by the way. It is the only graffiti that I liked. And it just says, National Guard D's nuts. Which I think reminds me of MLK in a way, in its inspirational defiance.